once again, I'm having a visceral reaction to the picture. It's not the production team's fault. They have to put it up. They have to be illustrative. But anytime I see him, the side view's better. I will tell the production team that. As much as you'd go to the side view and not the one where he's giving me full frontal and we're staring at each other. It's just something about it. I don't fear any man, but it's something, it does send chills up my spine, or maybe it's giving me hives. Clarence Thomas, even more undisclosed travel and gifts revealed. He and Ginny have been all over the place. Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas is under renewed scrutiny for accepting luxury gifts, free travel without disclosure. Senate Democrats released documents showing Thomas took 3 private flights with billionaire GOP donor Harlan Crow. Come on down. The trips between 2017 and 2021. 2 flights were round trips. One had multiple destinations, as confirmed by Crow's attorneys to the Senate Judiciary Committee. You see how they have to learn this stuff? Not even from Thomas himself, okay, or Ginny emailing Republican leaders, as she did on the run-up to January 6th. Where was Ginny that day? Instead, it has to be Harlan Crow under subpoena and his attorney responding. The newest revelation in the case follows the bombshell report by ProPublica last year that revealed Justice Thomas had regularly taken gifts from a number of billionaire Republican megadonors, including former Berkshire Hathaway executive David Sokol. Okay, there he is on the left. Former Miami Dolphins owner Huizenga on the right, and Crow, Dallas real estate tycoon, among others. It's funny, you can't, I guess you do pick your friends, but I mean, maybe they just all have a lot in common and they just ended up together. It's probably not fair to attack him, unless it's fair to attack him. They did not end up together, okay? Ooh. Justice Thomas never reported any of it on his annual financial disclosures, despite receiving ultra expensive gifts over the span of more than 20 years. Senate Finance Committee is also investigating Thomas's financial dealings over the past 2 decades amid increased calls for tougher ethics rules and for Thomas to resign. Atlanta Black Star with the details. Now, the newest documents reveal Justice Thomas hopscotching across the country at will, indicating he flew on Crow's private jet from St. Louis to Kalispell, Montana in May 2017 before proceeding to Dallas. And in March 2019, the conservative justice took the billionaire's private jet from Washington, D.C. to Savannah, Georgia, and back. June 2021, Thomas flew in secret from D.C. to San Jose, California, and back, according to the logs obtained by the Judiciary Committee. Most notable revelation is that Thomas took 3 trips that were not previously disclosed. This news comes shortly after a report from a group called Fix the Court showed Thomas had received more gifts than any other Supreme Court justice in history. Total value of these gifts since 1981 exceeding $5.87 million. Almost $4.2 million received in just the last 20 years, according to a readout from that committee.
With millions watching and many people benefiting from this program called Indisputable, we just need 1% of the viewers to become a paid member so we can continue to bring this content to you. Now back to the show.
Senate Judiciary Committee Chair Dick Durbin, an Illinois Democrat, criticized Thomas for what he described as a clear failure on ethics and propriety. Durbin said in a press release, nearly $4.2 million in gifts, and even that wasn't enough for Justice Thomas. With at least 3 additional trips, the committee found that he has failed to disclose to date. Durbin stated further, quote, Senate Judiciary Committee's ongoing investigation into the Supreme Court's ethical crisis is producing new information like what we've revealed today. And it makes it crystal clear that the highest court needs an enforceable code of conduct because its members continue to choose not to meet the moment. Not only are they won't even open the door. Meeting, they won't even, there's high ethics knocking. They're not even going to open the door. They said, Nobody's home. And then they did like that with the curtains, like I do. I really don't want any unsolicited visitors. I've made
When
it
a
quite clear. I can
Jehovah's
put up a-
Witness comes to your door type of thing.
Well, I was used to that as a young person. I said, well, who's this, mama? But anyway, I just don't want anyone coming to my door. And apparently, if the name's ethics, neither does the Supreme Court, Jackson. They're not to come in. Now,
Yeah,
go ahead.
I was just say, kick those losers out. You can't sit with us type of deal.
You can't. Okay, it's that simple. And I think that's on a t-shirt. It should be. And let's just proceed, as you said, kick the losers out. Because previously, Jackson, Thomas only acknowledged receiving 27 gifts, 27. I mean, the same group said there could have been up to 200. They couldn't prove all of them.
27 is still a lot. Like,
that's still a lot. But look what he's done. Look what he's created here. We think, wow, he only did, it was upwards of not even 10 to 15%. Only 27 gifts on federal disclosure forms before Fix the Court released their research. While his lack of transparency has led to ongoing discussions on Capitol Hill about judicial ethics, legal experts suggested that the failure to disclose the trips was not likely to result in any sort of penalty for Thomas. Now, right there, I have to admit it. Regardless, he's clearly shed his blackness. And I do mean that because now he's just like, boy, just like them. There'll be no consequence, at least for now. At least for now. America, this is stunning. This is breaking news, America. A black man in a black robe will not face any consequences. Code of conduct for justices established in November 2023 lacks any provisions for consequences in case of violations, nor does it provide a mechanism to determine if such violations have taken place without any real enforceable power. Code has increasingly drawn criticism amid various ethics scandals engulfing the Supreme Court over the past year. Atlanta Black Star notes how more recently the controversy surrounding Justice Samuel Alito and Martha Ann and the display of two of his residency of far-right flags that reference the January 6th attack has only highlighted the code's ineffectiveness. I have something to say about this, but I'll wait till I get through all of it. Last June, Alito also sought to dispel a ProPublica report alleging he went on a luxury Alaska fishing excursion 15 years ago with a billionaire Republican donor whose hedge fund was the subject of several high court rulings in which Alito never recused himself. I mean, maybe he liked to go crabbing in the cold Alaskan waters. And I'd have no problem with him doing that. In fact, I think he should hitch a ride with the crew of Deadliest Catch. Go with them. We're rocking up and down and you could fall off at any moment. This is a very, very dangerous job. If you want the full experience, Justice Alito, Deadliest Catch crew, they'll take you. Meanwhile, some gifts Thomas received helped cover various living costs, including private school tuition for his grandnephew, car batteries. Is you for real? Does this car batteries? Okay. Tires for the family vehicles. Okay. Okay. ProPublica reports all of that. Crow, however, was the person who really elevated the lifestyle of the conservative justice following some financial struggles during Thomas's early years on the high court. Is that the same as living above your means?
He is sugar baby.
Yeah. Crow reportedly paid for Thomas to take extravagant vacations around the world on a private jet, also funding exotic cruises aboard a luxury yacht, purchase of a luxury RV with a $267,000 loan that Thomas was not required to pay back. Again, ProPublica reporting that, Atlanta Black Star serving it up for us. The reasons behind the generosity toward Thomas remain uncertain, raising concerns about potential attempts to influence and corrupt the nation's highest court. Previously, Crow insisted he and Thomas were close friends and that Thomas had not ruled in any cases involving his holdings. Lawmakers are leveraging ethical controversy as a platform to call for a code of conduct that imposes real consequences for actions that are seen as eroding trust in the Supreme Court. As a result of our investigation and subpoena authorization, we are providing the American public greater clarity on the extent of ethical lapses by Supreme Court justices and the need for ethics reform, Durbin also noted in a statement. And he continued, despite an approval rating near all-time lows and never-ending self-inflicted scandals, Chief Justice Roberts still refuses to use his existing authority to implement an enforceable code of conduct, just as with all of the other revelations about Thomas. The new report has prompted criticism of the Supreme Court justice, calls for him to be removed or resign. If he had any integrity, he'd resign. Now that that's out the door, I mean, he doesn't have
Right.
any integrity. But I guess what really gets me is in November 2023, that's months ago, Jackson, they come up with this code of, ethical conduct with no way to uncover violations, no way to punish violations. Why are you wasting our time? They better not have ordered chicken for whatever lunch break they had as they discussed this ethic code of conduct on the American people. They better not have done that, though I'm sure they did. Go ahead.
At the end of the day, I mean, if you're not going to hold people accountable, then what does any of it matter? But also, at the end of the day, every level of our government is corrupted, all the way up to the Supreme Court, such that Clarence Thomas basically lives his life like a sugar baby Instagram model. Like everything's just free. You know what I'm saying? Like this week he in the Bermuda Triangle, next week he's in Thailand somewhere. Don't work. No evidence that they really do much of anything, but somehow they all over the planet. Yeah. You know what I'm saying on that? What's that? Seekingarrangements.com. Clarence Thomas got him a profile on there.
What?
But seriously, though, like, who really would have thought that it would get to this level? Which is why principle sometimes has to be adjusted. So, like, if you're like, oh, I'm all about the Constitution, that's important to go by the basis of the Constitution. But I don't really think that the people who were writing it, who were, thieving land and owning slaves and stuff like that, but we'll leave that for another day. But I don't think that those men really thought one day the Supreme Court's going to be this corrupted. Everything is going to get to this level. So we got to switch things up a little bit. But if we don't get money out of politics, at least corporate money, the way that it is so permeated, then how is any of this going to change? Clarence Thomas could leave, and the next day somebody just like him take his place. So
you're right. You're right. And don't forget that when a lot of these people in Congress and the courts and everywhere, when they finally leave public life, pushed out of there, or they want to cash in all their chips, where do they go? Corporations prop them up, give them cushy jobs, the whole bit. So there it is. And you mentioned our founding fathers. I think you're right. I will say, though, that perhaps men who decided that it was no big deal to own, rape, and pillage others, slaves, they may not have been the best people to legislate ethics that would and stand the test of time.
Maybe we should take their words with a little bit of a grain of salt, just a little.
Perhaps.
Yeah.
Just a little, because the more I think about it, I think if we would have gathered up some of those slaves who did have good sense, there's a story out today about how slaves are being praised for preserving hundreds and hundreds of years old cherries at George Washington's estate. They still are preserved. They dug them up, and the slaves, they in the kitchen, they had these cherries preserved for hundreds and hundreds of years. So these slaves had good sense, and I would gather if we were to round them up today and say, well, round them up, they wouldn't appreciate that. But if we were to say, well, come here and have a chat, they would have told us, well, you don't have any good sense listening to these fools. We could have told you that. They did not get it all the way right, despite the way history is written. It is what it is.
Yeah. And again, regardless, that was a couple hundred years ago. So we got to keep on adjusting. But, we can use this concept for so many different areas. With problems that we have, gun violence, all types of stuff. So,
yeah. Clarence Thomas and company. Thanks for putting the bump stock back in killing.